Hey, everybody, it's Heather, and welcome to Let's Talk Monday. You can feel good even when life doesn't. How did your weekend go, and how are you doing this Monday afternoon? Hopefully, you hit your Monday kind of leaning into those practices that help you feel good. If you are looking for more guidance, more information on ways that you can access your feel good, please know that I am have clients that I'm taking on, as well as I do work with groups. So if there's a couple of you who are interested in doing some really intentional work with some self-discovery, self-awareness, and personal development, please feel free to reach out to me. You can reach me on all the places. You can find me on Instagram, on Facebook, also at letsfeelgoodnow.com. Just go there and it'll take you to all of the other places. All right, so I don't want to waste too much time, but I wanted to talk today about navigating hard feelings. So last week I talked about trusting what you feel, right? And had some really good conversation with some clients about that content and what it takes to really shift that mindset of others kind of controlling how we expressed ourselves to the point where we could no longer trust ourselves, trust our feelings, trust that we knew what was best for us. Perhaps it was caretakers, guardians, uncles, aunts, grandparents. It doesn't matter. It's just in those earliest parts of our life, we took on this behavior that we felt like we had to accommodate or just deny or betray ourselves in order to appease a group of people. So I thought this week it'd be really helpful to add on to that information about, okay, then how do we navigate it? So this is content I've presented before, but I think it's really important to look at it again and again. Part of my program is never kind of going forward and never having to look back at content that I present. It's all part of curriculum of really learning how to be true to yourself, how to show up authentically for your emotions, how to ask for what you need, how to take responsibility for your feelings, and also be an autonomous person who's in charge of their life, that we can make decisions for ourselves. We can trust our feelings. We can trust that we have choices and wants and desires. A lot of this is correlated to my experience with codependency. There's a lot of great content out there and a lot of good educators on codependency. I just kind of go at it from an angle from an emotional and spiritual side, which has been the most effective for me. Learning how to process my emotions and take them out of the hazy kind of abstract, scary darkness into the very bright, clear light has been my greatest growth point. It has been a way for me to stabilize when I am having emotionally charged conversations or dealing with an uncomfortable situation. It grounds me, it stabilizes me, and I'm able to get through it without feeling stuck in overwhelm or even in mental exercises like overthinking and mulling over and rehashing the whole situation long after it has passed. It also helps me to learn to stay in the present moment and accept life as it actually is. So that's just a little bit of what my program does. I do have a coaching program that includes 3 phases: looking, leaning, and living. And it is a hybrid, so it is both in person or virtual. There are sessions with me in person, and then there is also digital content to help you along the way. So I like to bring the best of both worlds because I truly believe the in-person and virtual sessions really make the greatest impact, because we were born in relationship and we really need to be healed in relationship. And that means actual human connection, or as virtual as we can get via Zoom or via Teams or FaceTime, or all the different ways that we can connect. Okay, so it is a stormy afternoon in Florida. So my hope is I won't have Wi-Fi problems. But if it happens, that's just life, right? And we accept it and we move on and we try again. So hopefully everything will stay great. All right. I hope you're doing well. Let's go take a look at some content, and we're going to talk about navigating what you feel. Now, here's all the places where you can find me. All right. So, the key to navigating emotionally charged situations is to have a roadmap. Like back in the day, and even now with our phone, right? I don't know how many of you are directionally challenged, but I am directionally challenged. And I need to have my phone tell me where to go. Like, especially if I'm roaming around a place I'm not familiar with, right? If I'm in a place that's unfamiliar or I've never driven there before, I get anxiety. I get a little bit of overwhelm about the fact that I'm not sure where to go or what to find, especially overseas. When I've traveled overseas, it's like everything's backwards and not knowing where to go, it's anxiety producing, right? So I want you to apply that knowledge, your understanding of when I'm driving down the road in a foreign country, I need a map. Well, I want you to think about the same thing with regard to your emotions. Emotionally charged situations really remove us from our rational brain. The part of our brain that says, hey, everything's good, we're safe, you're in your house, there's not a lion around the corner, we're all here, we're right here, everything's okay. That's your rational brain. Well, because of the way our body is made, when we are emotionally triggered, it's a strong emotion, rises up from a situation, conflict, difficult conversation, problem arises, the oldest part of our brain, the amygdala, fires up and every other part of the brain kind of shuts down. Now, the linguistic part of our brain, as I've said before, if you've heard my other content, really kind of goes to sleep. So we don't have words for what we're feeling. So I want you to visualize, apply that foreign travel analogy here, that when you're in an emotionally charged situation, the things that you would typically have available to you are not. And you need a roadmap, right? Okay. So I have that here for you. So navigating hard emotions. So this is the first 3 stops you want to make when a situation rises up, and you want to think about these and you want to kind of mull over them and reflect on them, because you're going to want to know what your roadmap is when those situations arise, right? I had a person ask me just the other day on social media when I posted content from last week, well, how do you shift that mindset? How do you shift from relying on other people to tell you what to do, or relying on other people to tell us if we're okay enough? Well, really the way you start doing that is you begin modifying you're reframing how you see things. You're reframing how you would approach a situation rather than responding from that reaction place. And the way you do that is with this map, okay? So first here is you got a situation or a trigger, right? It activates strong emotions, okay? It doesn't matter. It could be anything. It could be anything. And when we get to the writing prompts at the end, that will help kind of really help you get to a clearer place on that. But when things happen, we get triggered, we have an emotional response. So that's going to happen. So the next stop as you're going along is you need to slow down. You got to slow down to allow your frontal lobe to come back online. So that means stillness, deep breathing, getting away from the trigger, removing yourself from the room, recognizing you're not in a good place for public consumption. There are days when I know intuitively, I know immediately I should not deal with the public today, because there is something in me going on where I am experiencing these strong emotions and I need to get myself together. I need to be able to back away, get some perspective, and help to get my frontal lobe back online, and also be able to name what I'm feeling, and then take myself on a journey as to why I'm feeling that way, right? But that comes later. So you slow down, remove yourself from the trigger, and then name the emotions. You're like, hey, Heather, that sounds really good, but how do I do that? Well, good news is I'm going to walk you through that. First, emotional roadmaps often need practice drives. Just like your first driver's test, you may need a few trial runs to get better. Trust you are learning. Expect there to be surprises along the way. So when my daughter was learning how to drive, it was a very tenuous time for me as a parent, right? And even further back, when I was learning to drive, I remember feeling awkward, right? I remember feeling that I don't know what to do. Where's the blinker? Where's the windshield wiper? You know what I mean? Like all the things that we intuitively pick up on when we're, adults and we've been driving for 20, 30, 40 years, right? All right. So I want you to think about the driver's test when you are traveling, again, a traveling analogy, and you rent a car, and it's a car that you've never driven before. We all know there's those few first times you drive that vehicle as you're leaving the parking lot of the rental agency or the airport, where you're like, oh my gosh, where's the windshield wiper? Where's the blinkers? Where's the headlights? How do I adjust the seats? How do I adjust the steering wheel? And oftentimes we forget this because we don't think about it. And so we're driving in a foreign place we've never driven in before, possibly, and trying to adjust all these things, accoutrements in the vehicle that we are unfamiliar with because it's not our vehicle that we normally drive in, right? So our brain is having to learn and process new information, okay? So I want you to think about that with regard to your emotions in difficult situations. So this roadmap really looks simple, and I understand that it looks simple, but it's actually going to take a lot of practice because the situations that trigger you are triggering you for a reason. And it's probably a pretty significant area of wounding for you that you have not yet dealt with, that you have really maybe even kind of forgotten about. I don't know how many times I have clients who tell me, I don't even know why we're talking about this part of it, Heather. And I never even imagined I still had this concern. I thought it was over with because it was in the past. I thought I didn't have to think about it anymore, but I see it's impacting my behavior now. And that's the goal of my program, is not to do the deep trauma work that really clinicians, licensed medical therapists need to do. Correct? So it is really the intent of recognizing that is impacting your current behavior in order for you and I to begin to move forward with finding peace and healing in our lives. Okay? So that concept of this practicing, your emotions are very volatile. It's very raw. It's very vulnerable. It's going to feel awkward. It's going to feel uncomfortable, okay? So expect there to be surprises along the way. So here's the things that you want to do with telling the story. So I call this telling the story because we often have emotional situations that come up, and we're responding from a narrative that's been playing in our brain about what we believe or feel about a situation that's happening. And so it's important to tell the story as it actually happened, not as we wanted it to happen or wished it to happen, but as it actually happened. And we need to get it out of our heads as quickly as possible because our brain is very, very good at making up stories and filling in blanks with inaccurate information. Okay. So if you remember the telephone game, right, where You stand in a circle and there's maybe 15, 20 people, and one person tells a message to the person in their ear, and it goes all the way around the circle. And by the time you get to the end, it's a completely different statement, right? Okay. So understand that that's just how the brain works. It's not right or wrong. It's just what the brain does, because the brain is designed to help us survive. So if the brain wants us to survive, it's going to fill in the blanks where there's no clarity. Okay? So this is why we do this work. So what situation triggered the emotion? So you write it down. I have a workbook along with a free audio thing that you can access so you can work through this, and I talk you through it. What situation triggered the emotions? Describe it in detail. What did it sound, look, even smell like? Smell is a big thing. Like when you ever walk into a room and you smell perfume, or you smell a special kind of soup that your mama used to make when you were 10 years old and it was your favorite, or a special kind of bread, or even the smell of cut grass brings back a lot of memories for me in particular. Also, what did you feel in your body then? What did you feel? What do you feel in your body right now as you're recalling the event? Pay attention to that. And what do you think you needed that you didn't receive? When this situation occurred and there was an emotional response, what do you think you needed and you didn't receive? Now, recognizing that detours and roadblocks are part of the practice of responding to strong emotions, it won't be easy at first. I'm going to keep reemphasizing that. Detours and roadblocks are going to happen with this internal work, with your ability to be able to understand what's driving your emotions. It may feel super uncomfortable. You may actually feel worse when you begin doing this initial work. But it's okay, because what you're doing is become more aware of the actual your emotional threshold is becoming more clear to you. That there's more to your emotions than maybe what you thought. Okay? But recognizing that detours and roadblocks are just part of practice. Okay? They're part of navigating your emotions. You're in new territory. And you're in a territory that's very vulnerable and very raw. And it can feel a little scary. It's not going to be easy at first. So in telling the story, this is really important, is naming your feelings. So the feeling wheel here is a very powerful tool. And my workbook has this in there that you can access. This is a free resource that you can use. The sentence stem that you want to start with is the feelings that come up with this situation are. The feelings that come up, even doing the workbook about the situation is bringing up feelings. Then write those down. You're going to find your most clear emotion on the wheel. If you feel angry, then go to anger. If you feel fear, go to fear. If you feel sad, go to sad. Okay? If you feel happy, go to happy. But you want to kind of go to your core emotion, then go into the layers and see if one of those resonates even more for you. Study the emotions even in the core emotions surrounding it. What resonates? Give yourself time to sit with this, at least at the minimum 2-3 minutes, just to sit and really think about it. And it may feel weird at first, and that's okay. Yeah, you can do weird things, right? So we can try hard things, and it can feel a little uncomfortable, but we're learning. Just like a fitness program, things going to be a little uncomfortable and awkward at first, right? Driving that rental car for the very first time, and it's not your kind of vehicle, is going to feel a little awkward at first. We know how to do those things, so try to apply that here. As you're doing this work and you find these emotions that resonate, do any of these emotions surprise you? Does it give you clarity? Because when it surprises us, it's often kind of new information. And identify also if any of these emotions don't surprise you. You kind of feel like, yeah, I'm not surprised by it, but it feels accurate. Okay. You're going to kind of make that clarity. You're going to do that little worksheet. Okay. And then you're going to help yourself to slow down. Okay. So slowing down. So the roadmap is there's something that's triggered you. You slow down. You want to slow everything down, and then you name your emotions. Okay. So I kind of am not helping you because I just talked about naming the emotions, and now I'm talking about slowing down. But we're going to get to where I want you to get. Okay. So the feeling wheel is really helpful for naming your emotions. But when you're on the roadmap, you want to be able to slow yourself down. One of the greatest techniques I use is grounding technique and breath work. So to slow myself down, I will usually kind of visualize that I'll be sit in a very kind of upright chair, and I feel the ground beneath my feet. And I just pay attention to that. I notice, the ground is holding me up. The chair that I'm sitting in is holding me up. And I tell myself, Heather, you're safe. We're okay. And then I breathe in 4 counts, hold for 4 counts, and breathe out for 4 counts. Then I hold for 4 counts. It's called square breathing. Now, I do this a couple of times, anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes. And it's not like it's a big moment where I have to go and find like some quiet place. I usually kind of do it in the kitchen or the living room, wherever I'm at, with the limited distractions, of course. So the television blaring would not be a good time or place to do that. But I don't have to make a big deal of it. It's more the slowing down is getting me in tune with my body. And then I kind of ask myself 3 questions. My body feels, and I just describe it. My body feels tired. My body feels anxious. I have butterflies in my stomach. I feel more grounded. I feel like I can breathe easier. My mind seems more clear. My mind seems more able to put words together, right? I feel like I'm able to have clearer thoughts on this. I don't feel like I'm in the whirlwind anymore. I just kind of talk myself through that as I'm doing this grounding, where I'm still, I'm doing breath work, and I'm really asking myself questions. You can certainly write this down in a journal, but it's really more about me being present in my body. So showing up for your feelings as they actually are is the most important part of the roadmap. So that's what we're going to do next, is really being able to show up for your feelings. You want to name the emotions that are without having feelings about the feelings. So when we have feelings about a feelings, it's like maybe you named that you were feeling embarrassed, but now you feel ashamed that you were embarrassed. So that's a feeling about a feeling, which can then make us feel worse. So you want to show up for your feelings as they actually are. And that's the most important part of the work. Your reactions to triggers will soften as you work with yourself compassionately. Compassion is an important part of this work. Okay, so this is where we do the real kind of work of working through what we're feeling with regard to naming the emotions and kind of sifting through what happened. So the feelings that resonated with me the most were, so let's say, for example, a recent situation that I had was an uncomfortable conversation I had with my spouse. So the feelings that resonated with me the most on that feeling wheel were embarrassment and feelings of shame. The feelings pain told me that I was stuck and that I was unlovable. So I was feeling embarrassed, some shame. Those feelings and the pain associated with it told me a story, told me that I was unlovable. So that is kind of a signal that the story that I tell myself is when I feel rejected or a worth issue, or maybe I feel embarrassed or ashamed, I will tend to go to that story of I'm not worthy, I'm not enough. Okay. So this is an important one. The feelings pain told me that I was. It reminded me of my childhood when my brother used to make fun of me. So my older brother, I was just kind of the butt of his jokes a lot. And so that embarrassment, being kind of called out and made fun of, is really significant for me. Also, I was bullied in middle school really bad and have a lot of shame associated with that. So it reminded me of that. What I think I needed then was a place to go that was safe to talk about my feelings. But I was never allowed that. And I didn't get it. So I compensated by acting like I had everything together, by being strong and capable and just, or, oh, I don't care. It doesn't matter, right? I also kind of disassociated a lot, where I would just kind of live in the present moment and never really think about long term. So it was more of a disassociating from reality as it actually was, right? And that's how I survived. It's how my brain helped me survive. Looking back, it makes sense that I did that because I didn't have a safe place to go. I didn't feel safe. I always felt like I had to be on the alert that somebody was going to be mean to me. And that makes sense. So the feelings that come up with that now are kind of surprise. I often forget how bullying was a big part of my story of my codependent behavior and why I'm controlling and why I'm so anxious about uncertain feelings and emotions that come up, or uncertain situations. I won't know the outcome of that situation. It could be bad, and fearing that. So there's a lot of, I think I'm surprised yet again with this work. I continue to be surprised with this work. And I do this work, I teach this work, and I surprise myself with this work. That's the beauty of it. Okay, so again, here is the roadmap. So there's going to be situations that trigger. You're going to slow down by the grounding technique, right? Breath work, asking yourself questions, how your body's feeling, how your mind is feeling, if you're feeling clear. And then when you are clear, naming your emotions with the feeling wheel. So that is like the greatest roadmap, and it's totally free. Totally free. So here's all the places where you can find this information, okay? So you can go to letsfeelgoodnow.com. You can find me on YouTube, Let's Get Real, and Writing Real Life, and Real Life by Heather. And that is all the places where you can find that. So please feel free to reach me at those areas. You can go grab the Navigating Hard Feelings workbook. There is a little audio file that goes with it so that you can listen as you're doing the work, kind of walks you through it. And it's handy to have in those situations when, hey, I feel a really tough situation. Hey, let me go grab that workbook that Heather had. You know, it's just a tool, another tool that can go in your tool bag to help you feel good, even when life doesn't. I hope this has been helpful information. Have a great day. Take care, and I will see you guys next week. Bye.